Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Star Wars Expanded Universe, now made up by Disney, or Lucasfilm, whichever way you slice it, Legends. Today I have for you the final novel in the official Coruscant Nights trilogy by Michael Reeves. This is what it looks like. It's probably backwards for you, but there you go. Patterns of the Force. Now, this is not the final book that is related to this storyline, but it is the final book titled Coruscant Nights, just to make that clear. I don't have too much to say about this book. Here's what I will say. This is not by any means a bad book or anything. Compared to the other two, I think it is, significantly weaker than the rest. It's also the shortest one, I think. That being said, it's just kind of weird. We do get more stuff about, Michael Reeves connecting his other stories, whether that be with, MedStar or Shadowhunter. But on the other hand, we have this Boda plot that we've been continuing for all three books, which is also, was actually started in the Med Center duology, with the Boda being able to give you an increased attunement to the Force, and you'd be more powerful with access to the Boda. And I mean, there's many examples of this within the EU, of certain artifacts and whatnot, whether they be Sith talismans or other such things that grant Force users like a power boost, essentially. I believe there's another example of that within the Splinter of the Mind's Eye novel by Alan Dean Foster. And of course Vader wants that because, helps him be stronger and whatnot. And the other side stuff we have is that the guy who did not follow Lorne Pavin's instructions at the end of Darth Maul Shadowhunter, is remorseful when it comes to apologize to I-5 and wants I-5 to take down the Emperor because he's a droid, so he has no feelings. He's not attuned to the Force, so Palpatine would have no way of suspecting a droid, especially a protocol droid, being able to do any harm to him, being the one way to finally take out the oppression of the Empire at the top, at the very least, by getting rid of the Emperor. There's also this, new kid, like a 15-year-old kid who has strong powers in the Force, but he mainly focuses on his rage because of what's happened to his family and everything due to the Empire. And he, more so than Anakin, I'd say, really struggles with anger problems and stuff and doesn't really know how to deal with it. And so Jax Pavin tries to become sort of this mentor, this master for the kids. That way he can control his power. And of course, the Inquisitors are around this time, and, the bad guys would really like this kid with powerful Force potential to become an Inquisitor, to help, the Empire's reign, so they gotta watch out for that. And then, of course, we deal more with, droid sentience, droid rights, and humanity. Is I-5 a soul? Is he not? That stuff that this book gets into. And, I mean, that stuff is interesting. I don't want to knock it. I think there's a lot of interesting concepts in here. We get the Jedi mantra that starts in KOTOR here again with there's no emotion, there's peace, there's no passion, there's serenity. We get that again, which is always fun to see whenever it pops up. But overall, I mean, the plot of this book is I-5 is going to kill the Emperor. Is he going to? You have to read the book to find out. Obviously, you can't actually kill the Emperor, but, what happens from those events, you have to read the book. And without spoilers, that's all I can really say. I mean, obviously, he's not successful in his mission because the OT movies exist. That being said, I don't know. The first book, it had the benefit of having Prince Caesar from Shadows of the Empire in it. It had the guy from Shatterpoint in it. It had, Jax Pavin for the first time, getting to learn more about him. Having I-5 and Dender there, and that's always great and fun. And in the second book, we still had a lot of that, but we had the inclusion of Captain Typho trying to get revenge for Padme and Aurra Sing, both of which were really interesting threads to have in there. This one, Aurra Sing's gone, Typho's gone. We still have Dender and I-5, and but there's just something about it that it's just weird too, because it's not really a spoiler, but at the end of the book, you know, freaking Darth Vader gets the Boda, he sniffs it, has a bad acid trip, and just starts freaking out, just starts doing dark side blasts left and right, and just screaming at the top of his lungs, right? Like he got a bad kick from this drug, okay? Like, it did not go the way he planned. He planned on, like, sniffing that thing and being able to, like, I mean, and I guess in a sense he did, because it just like amplified his anger, and he's freaking out, like, he's just like shooting stuff left and right out of it. He's just like force push, force unleashed video game levels of he's just doing that indiscriminately, ally, combatant, going all out. So, you know, the heroes leave. And by the end of it, the story doesn't really end. The story, you know, Jax Pavin escapes, Darth Vader's pissed at himself for being overdosed on drugs. Jax Pavin's like, you know, I've realized we gotta stay here on Coruscant because this is where I'm meant to be. And then he gets like a vision from the Force itself saying, yes, this is the right thing to do. You must stay on Coruscant. That is what you're meant to do. That is your destiny. And then it just ends. It just ends. Now, we do have another book coming up after this that is a continuation of the story. However, I want to say this came out in like the mid-2000s. 2010 latest. But I think it was way earlier than that. Like 2006, 2007 or something. The finale to this book did not come out until 2013. 1 year before the buyout of Disney. So for many years, you just didn't have a conclusion to this story. Which in the same sense is the problem with, like, The Force Unleashed 2. We're left on a cliffhanger, and then you get nothing. Like, the whole story is really anticlimactic. It's building to this confrontation with Darth Vader, because Darth Vader's been searching for Jax Pavin for 3 novels now. And he overdoses, Pavin leaves, and the story ends with him basically kind of like a TV show, like a cartoon, where they're going back to the status quo, helping the less fortunate at the underbellies of Coruscant, and somehow evading capture of the Empire. Like, I get you want to have your character survive and be happy, but this is the dark times, baby. You don't always have a happy ending. Or at least, you don't stay on the planet where, you know, Vader's trying to capture you. That makes sense in the first couple books, right? Where you're entangled on other things. But to remain there and for the Force to tell you that, I don't know, it's just weird. And, like, I don't know. I don't hate this book. I really like Michael Reeves' writing, and I think he's really good at writing characters really well and making you care about them. But there's just so many weird things in here. Like, I don't know how to feel about it overall. I think it's okay. But I like the first 2 a lot more than I like this last one. And I don't know how I'll feel about the next book. Which, funny enough, I'm going to tell you what the next book is, just because I think it's hilarious. The next book that is a conclusion to this series is called The Last Jedi. Not even Disney could have an original title to their movie. But that will conclude this story. I will be reading something that is not canon, and I will only mention it if I think it's good. I won't put it in the official timeline, of course, because it's not a part of it. But if I think it warrants a reading, I will certainly mention it in one of the upcoming videos. Otherwise, you won't hear what it is. But it is basically a conclusion to this series after The Last Jedi, made by a fan. It's not official, so it's fan fiction. But we'll see how I feel about that after I've read it, and whether I think it's worth checking out at the very least. I can't say it's official. I can't say it's, you know, a part of the timeline. But if I like it, I will recommend a read, I guess. But other than that, I mean, if you like the first two, you should definitely finish off with this one. You should definitely read The Last Jedi after this, because otherwise you kind of get a nothing ending with this. But it is fun. One positive about Michael Reeves is that all of his books, like even Shadowhunter back before episode 1, feels more like the Bantam era books. But the Bantam era books, by that I mean the books that came out after episode 6 but before New Jedi Order, because Bantam Publishing held the rights to Star Wars novels for a bit before it went back to Del Rey for New Jedi Order and most of the prequel stuff. All the prequel stuff actually. But there's a lot of fun in there, and that's what I feel that this series kind of excels in. It's fun and not feeling so, not that it's not serious, but it doesn't feel so depressing. But yeah, decent, a C tier book. Like if I ever made like a tier list, this would be lower on the tier, but by no means a D or an F. Yeah, the lowest is a C. But anyway, guys, thank you all so much for watching. I really don't have any spoilers for you. I just have a couple things to mention, but nothing major. So if you want to leave, now will be the time to be. But hopefully you'll check out the Coruscant Nights trilogy. I do think overall, as a whole package, if we're counting all three together, that is certainly worth your time. Anyway, spoiler time. If you don't want that, time to go. There was basically just a nice little scene near the end where Jax sees a message from his dad, and I thought that was really well done. Connecting to Shadowhunter. And then the whole I5 is a soul thing, because this is a thing that's been debated in Star Wars. It's a thing that, I think a lot of droids probably have. But, I5 is one of the few in Star Wars who actively is like, no, this is a person. He has a soul. They can detect him in the Force, and I thought that was the craziest revelation of this book, was the fact that you can actually sense a droid in the Force. So I thought that was pretty cool. But overall, that's pretty much it for spoilers. That's all I really have to say. I did not have a lot of notes for this book. It's certainly not my favorite. And I think there's a lot of issues in here. But, could be worse. Could be Approaching Storm by Alan Dean Foster. Or any of the Karen Miller Clone Wars books. Or Knight Errant. But it's not that bad. It's certainly no Dawn of the Jedi bad. Anyway, guys, I'm going to let you go. Up next, I'll see you with 2 short stories and The Last Jedi by Michael Reeves. Till then, may the Force be with you.